Hi, I'm TF Snaps, and recently I had an amazing opportunity to visit Japan, one of the coolest places in the world, and knock it off my bucket list. I got to film some pretty amazing stuff there. I figured I'd make it all into a YouTube video that I could do. This trip had been in the works since 2020, where originally I was asked to go to Croatia, to which I said, why the hell not? But before that happened, a certain something happened in 2020, some of you guys might know what it is, that foiled those plans. The trip got postponed for like 3 years, and inevitably it was canceled. So that was kind of a bummer. But I was offered by my teacher around 2022 if I wanted to go to Japan instead. To which I said, oh, hell yeah, you should have just been saying that from the beginning. Like, who wouldn't want to go to Japan? I'd like to thank everybody for this trip. I'd like to thank my teacher for letting me film this entire thing. Without him, I wouldn't have been able to make this video in the first place. But yeah, this was the biggest trip that I had ever had planned. I'll explain and tell you all these crazy things that happened. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want to see me do more videos like this, I would love to do more stuff like this. But yeah, here's my Japan trip. As the final hours dropped before I had to leave, I packed all my stuff in my backpack and my journey to Japan began. We made our way to LAX airport. Unfortunately, a lot of the airport stuff I could not film due to what I could and couldn't film there. So a lot of the stuff at these airports I didn't get to really share because of security and privacy reasons in the airport. But I did get to film some of the stuff from when we went on our flight. We were going under Eva Air. I had never been on a flight really where it was this long. It was a 13 to 16-hour flight all the way to Thailand. We had to fly into that as a layover and then another 3-hour flight into Japan. So about an hour onto our flight, it was around 1:30 a.m. This was a red flight, so it was very early in the morning. We were served some food and it was okay. I mean, I've never really had food like this on a flight before. The most food I had ever had on an airplane were the peanuts that they give you. That was the most food I had ever had on a flight before because all I'd really fly before was either American Airlines or Southwest. So being on a flight this long and being served a whole meal was very interesting to say the least. It wasn't the tastiest thing in the world, but it was edible. You could eat it, and some of it was actually pretty good. But after that, they dimmed the cabin lights and we were able to rest up for a little bit. I only got around 4 hours of sleep during that entire flight. That's mainly because I'd never really slept on these flights before. I've never slept on an airplane. It's not really my thing, and I can't really sleep due to flying anxiety. But, I got a little bit of sleep, so that helps. In the morning, the flight attendants came with some coffee, and we had some breakfast, which was pretty tasty in the end. Eventually, we landed in Taipei for our layover, and basically had to go through security all over again. It was kind of a mess. A lot of the stuff, like I said, I couldn't film due to security and privacy reasons. Finally, after 16 hours of flying, we eventually landed in Japan. The whole process to get into Japan was a complete mess. You had to sign a bunch of papers and stuff like that. Of course, because traveling to other countries, it's a lot different. It's a lot more complicated. But after that whole mess of us getting our baggage and, telling them how long we're going to be staying in Japan for, it was all on the up from there. Finally, after a long while, our bus showed up and we got to meet our amazing tour guide, Hajime. And finally, we were on our way to our hotel. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we had done the first day that we got there, I didn't really get to record. I was mainly really exhausted. I hadn't gotten a lot of sleep, and also there wasn't a whole lot of interesting stuff we were doing as soon as we landed there. We did earlier in the night go to what's called a shabu shabu dinner. It was pretty interesting. So you basically put meat into boiling water or boiling like soy sauce or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was really cool because we got to, eat that and try that for the first time. At least that was the first time I tried tried something like that. They have stuff like that all over California or the US. For day 3, we did a couple of really cool things. We went to the Meijing Shrine. Most of these names I'm absolutely going to get wrong because I have been getting them wrong since the very beginning. Hey, so we're going on our big trip, and I got some Pocari Sweat, and one of my friends actually recommended this to me, so let's see how this goes. But we went to go to the Meijing Shrine, and that was, it's, I can't put it into words how beautiful this place is. Like, the architecture, the greenery, everything about Japan and its art is just phenomenal. It's amazing. And one of the things in the Meijing Shrine is they made us go up, wash our hands, drink from the water, which was very interesting. I figured I'd video this little thing to show my friend how my camera works. And we are at the Meijing Shrine. The next place that we did was we visit the Harajuku district. This place was a big district full of different food, different shops, different areas, and we kind of got to explore a little bit of that stuff, and it was really cool. So we're at the boba place right now. Cruz, Katie, are you excited?
Yes.
Yeah? What from my credit card? Jeez. It's private information here.
What are you gonna get?
I'm gonna get the brown sugar boba. That one right there.
Look at that.
Yeah, it looks super tasty.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I gotta mix it. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Aw, how is it? Tyler?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is so good. Aww. Hey. Hey. What are you doing, y'all weirdo? The next place on our shopping was the Shibuya Crossing. This was another place that we got to shop and kind of eat at. What I did was I ate at McDonald's because when you're in a different country, why would I not try McDonald's? I got a holy shit, I can't remember what it's called. I now have to look it up. The teriyaki chicken burger. That's what it was called. And it was really tasty. Of course, it was just like regular McDonald's, but you know, it had its own pizzazz to it. And I got to look around for a little bit. I didn't see any shops that were too interesting. There was a main goal of mine is I wanted to find a giant cat bus plush. But unfortunately at Shibuya Crossing, there was nothing around there that had Studio Ghibli stuff. The next place that we got to visit was the Imperial Palace of East Garden. This place was absolutely gorgeous. You know, all of the architecture, like I said before, in Tokyo is just mesmerizing. Compared to the US, we don't have stuff that is architecturally as beautiful as they have over there. And that's what I loved about this whole trip. It was just so interesting to see different cultures in a different perspective. The next place that we went to was this giant temple. It was huge. It went up. And they had, like, on the floor ground, they had a bunch of different shops. Earlier in the night, we went back to our hotel, of course, and for some reason, I don't know why, and my teacher can attest this with me, most of our food got canceled. So they decided to take us to TGI Fridays, which, when I think of Japan, I don't think of TGI Fridays. But at TGI Fridays, I got to order my first alcoholic drink in Japan. It was like a pocky, almost chocolate bourbon drink, and it was really tasty. And that kind of wraps it up for day 3. It was very interesting to see, for the first time, being able to see all these temples, all these architectures, and just a bunch of different cool places. Moving on to day 4, we went to Disney, and this was really fun. Being able to go to Disneyland, Japan was one of the most interesting parts of this trip. And if you guys know me, I'm not a big Disney fan. Originally, I didn't really want to go to Disney, but I kind of caved because, believe it or not, compared to what it is over here in California, in terms of price, is unbelievable. For Disneyland around California, you'd be paying around $200 per person. Japan. These tickets right here were only about $65. After it's been a decade or so since I had been to Disneyland, it was really fun. They had an option either if you wanted to go to the Disney park or you want to go to Disney Sea. Disney Sea is kind of like California Adventure, but in Japan. But they had some of the coolest rides that I had ridden there. I'm not really a fan of Disney. I don't see myself going to Disney parks, but being able to attend that was really fun. And I will admit, I had a blast going there. We got to ride all different kinds of rides, hang out with my friends, and then in the end of the night, they had this huge fireworks show that was absolutely mesmerizing. And overall, that completes what day 4 was. We spent most of the day on day 4 at Disney parks. Moving on to day 5. Day 5 was very interesting. We had a 2-hour bus ride to Hakone. Hakone is more of a rural place. Think of it as kind of like Texas, but in Japan. It's a lot more open space. It's a lot more grassy, trees everywhere. But I will say for Hakone, it is absolutely beautiful. I mean, the vast areas of open trees and foliage, the lake is absolutely beautiful that we rode. And we rode on top of a little boat, which was really cool. But this boat also took us to go see Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji I had never seen before and was really, really cool. It's ginormous. In the video, it doesn't look that big, but it is a lot bigger than it looks in the video. It is absolutely huge. We had an absolute blast hiking up there and being able to see Mount Fuji, and there was this little temple too, and it was super cool. So then we went to our next hotel that we stayed at. We were staying in Hakone. Our hotel was very interesting. We didn't sleep on beds or anything. We actually slept on like a mat. The chairs in the place didn't have any legs or anything. There's one thing I didn't get to film, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, but I tried an onsen. If you guys don't know what an onsen is basically a Japanese natural hot spring. What people do is they basically strip down, wear absolutely nothing, no underwear, no swim trunks, absolutely bare naked, and you go in this onsen and you soak. And the minerals in the water are supposed to help you. They're supposed to, make your skin softer, supposed to replenish your energy overall. And so we got to try an onsen, which I will say I did not want to do it at first, but after a bit of convincing and after telling myself I wouldn't be able to do something like this in America, I did it. But yeah, the onsen was very interesting as a cultural perspective. It was very odd, but afterwards, I felt a lot more refreshed. I felt a lot cleaner after it. After the onsen, we had our dinner. If you guys don't know, I'm not a big fan of seafood. What ended up happening is some of it I did like, but some of it I ended up not liking. I ended up eating it and then I gagged. So then I panicked and I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to spit it out and be disrespectful, but I also didn't want to swallow it because I knew it was not going to go down properly. And I ended up choking on the fish, which was, let's just say I'm not going to try that again. So the next morning we were greeted to another raw fish breakfast, which I quickly said no to. I was not going to go through the same process of what happened yesterday and quickly said no. We got onto our bus and we headed over to the train station over in Hakone. What we were doing there was we were going to ride what's called the bullet train. It went super fast. We were going at least, I think, around 300 miles per hour, and we got to see Mount Fuji, like even larger than it was before. We got a really good angle from it, and that was really cool. We wandered around the subway for a little bit. We got some food because this was a 2-hour ride all the way to Kyoto. Some of the stuff that we did in Kyoto, which was really fun, was what's called Nara Park. If you guys don't know what Nara Park is this kind of big area where there's a bunch of different deer, and they're kind of just like scattered all over the place. But you can pay to get these little crackers for the deer. The deer will run up to you and they'll try to take the crackers from you, bump into you, they'll headbutt you, or they'll kneel at you that they want crackers. But they don't kneel out of respect. They kneel because you'll give them the cracker if they kneel. So that's the only reason that they do it. After the deer, we went to the Todaiji Temple, which was really cool. It had these really cool statues, and they had a bunch of other stuff scattered around. And so it was a lot of fun. That area was really cool. Afterwards, we went to what's called the Kasugua Grand Shrine, and that was really cool too. Just seeing all the art and how old these buildings are, especially for its time and how well maintained they are, is really impressive. And then for the rest of the day, we checked into our hotel and we had what's called a sukiyaki dinner. The dinner was actually pretty good. The dinner was exactly like the one back in the first day, where you were able to dip meat inside of a boiling pot and cook it and then eat it, and that was a lot of fun. And seeing and being able to go to these places and trying these different foods that I had never tried before is probably one of my other favorite things about this trip. I got to try so much different food that I'd never really explored before, and I really ended up loving every bit of it. After dinner, we kind of just chilled. I played in the arcade for a bit. They had an arcade because it was in a hotel. I got to play in the arcade for a little bit. On day 7, we went on a whole sightseeing tour. We woke up and we explored the entire place, kind of all of Kyoto. Kyoto has a lot of different stuff in it. It's kind of dispersed all over the place. You have a bunch of different places you can visit. But the first place we visited was the Golden Pavilion. If you guys don't know what the Golden Pavilion is, it's basically this big building that's entirely made out of gold. The whole building is gold itself. It's very interesting. Very shiny, I will say. It's kind of blinding almost. And it was really cool, and the whole area around it was very pretty. It's surrounded by like a lake or something, and there were some like koi fish around the Golden Pavilion, and that was really cool. So the next place that we went was the Fushimi Inari Thai Shop, and that was really cool. It was basically these big arches, and so it was kind of scattered all over the place. They had different food vendors, different shops, and it was really cool because all these big arches are kind of just scattered throughout the city, and there was a certain area where there was thousands of arches that go in a straight line, and it was really cool because I took some pretty cool pictures there, and it's just a very pretty architectural wise. It's super cool, and like they had these like statues of like foxes. And then we went to what's called the Arishiyama Bamboo Grove visit, and that one was really cool because it was basically just a giant bamboo forest filled to the brim. We had to walk up this mountain, and then we were able to see all the bamboo, but I didn't get a lot of footage here, mainly for one reason. According to my teacher, the monkeys do not like to be filmed there, and if they're filmed, they will apparently attack you. And the last thing I want to do in Japan is go to the hospital due to some monkey scratching my face. So after that, we went back to our hotel and we ate at another place. This one was more of a buffet area, and then went to an arcade with my friends again, played some games there before we had to get back to our hotel. Day 8 was definitely the biggest one in terms of traveling. This one, not only was it our last day, but also we just had a bunch of cram-packed stuff into it. Today we were going from Kyoto to Osaka, so we're technically going to another hotel, and so we traveled by bus there. It was like a 30-minute ride. It wasn't that bad. And then we went to Osaka Castle, which I think this might be my favorite place visiting, just because of how photogenic everything is. There was not one picture that I took there that I was very disappointed in. Everything is just very photogenic and very pretty. The lake, the reflection, the temple, and just it's so pretty. And I would recommend anybody that visits Osaka, because Osaka was definitely by far my favorite place of visiting Japan, to go see Osaka Castle. The next place that we went to was called the Kuromon Market, and this one was really cool because all it is just a market full of food, different vendors, and different people. And this is actually where I got to try my favorite thing, takoyaki. If you guys don't know what takoyaki is, basically it's squid that's in a fried little ball and then kind of drizzled with a bunch of stuff. Like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of seafood, so I was kind of hesitant to try it, and I ended up trying it, but really ended up liking it. It was actually really tasty. The next place that we went to was another eating district, Dotonbori district, and this place was huge. It was almost like a big bustling city. It was just a bunch of different food market places, and one thing I was looking forward to on trying in Japan was the giant cotton candies, and I was luckily able to find a giant cotton candy that I tried, and kind of made me sick a little bit, I won't lie. The last thing that we did on our trip was we visited the Umuda Sky Building, and this building is ginormous. It's absolutely huge. It's not the biggest building in Japan, but is one of the biggest buildings in Japan. So it takes you up like 40 flights, and then you have to go up an escalator to go even higher that basically dangles across the building itself and takes you to like the other side of the building. And it was really pretty being able to see all of Japan from like up in that area. It was so high that you could literally see across the area. It was beautiful. After that, I rushed back to the hotel because while we were on our trip, I had recently found out that in our hotel area, there was a place that I wanted to visit. And apparently they had a Studio Ghibli store inside the mall hotel area we were in. So I threw all my stuff on the ground, got into the hotel, and rushed my way over to the Studio Ghibli place, which I want to say was probably one of the highlights from my trip. I'm so sad I couldn't buy everything in the store. I absolutely loved it. They had this giant Totoro, and I got to hug him, and he was so cute. And that was by far one of the highlights from my trip that I really enjoyed. On day 9, we had some free time in the morning because we weren't going anywhere, and our flight was leaving earlier that night. So I got to visit the Pokemon Center, which was really cool. I grabbed a few little gifts for my friends because there's only a few Pokemon I like, and I don't really play the games. So I told my friends I'd bring something from Pokemon in Japan for them. Got a few things from them, and then I went to the Nintendo store, which was really cool. They had a bunch of the different Nintendo stuff there, and I grabbed a few little knickknacks from Nintendo there, and it was really cool. But to finish off the day, I went to Capcom Cafe, which was really cute, and I got myself like chicken and waffles and this cute little soda with ice cream. It was really pretty. It was super cute. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and it was very tasty as well. But unfortunately, this does mark the end of this whole trip. I'm not gonna lie, this was the biggest trip I had ever been on, and without all the help from my family, I can't thank my family enough for helping fund some of this trip for me to be able to explore Japan. Without their help, I wouldn't have been able to go on this trip and wouldn't have been able to explore Japan to its fullest. After the whole trip, I definitely do want to go back to Japan. I want to explore more of Japan because this whole trip was very cram-packed. We had to go through things pretty quickly, which is why this video goes pretty quickly as well. We weren't able to really stay and kind of soak it in a little bit. Overall, I really enjoyed my trip there, and I definitely want to go again, maybe for like a month-long trip, because it was a whole lot of fun, and it's definitely something I want to delve more into exploring a little bit because I really love Japan. And I had a ton of fun, and I don't think that anything can really top this trip for me. Anyways, if you really enjoyed this video, like and a sub would really be appreciated. I want to start doing more explaining content like this, you know, my explorations a little bit, the different conventions and stuff that I go to. I want to start doing that a lot more, and I would love to share it with all of you, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.